Chapter 5, Getting Started with Python, Part 4. Operators. Operations are performed on values. For example, 1 plus 4. Here, 1 and 4 are operands and plus is the operator. There are various types of operators in Python. They are arithmetic, relational, assignment, logical, identity, and membership related operators. Arithmetic operators. So the operators are plus, which means an addition. 10 plus 5 will result in 15. Minus is for subtraction. So 10 minus 5 is 5. Star is for multiplication. 10 star 5 is 50. Slash is for division. 10 divided by 2 is 5.0. Here we get a float as a result. Float is the type of the result of the value 5.0. And then we have double slash, which performs float division. So 10 double slash 3 is 3. The reason we get 3 as a result is because when you divide 10 by 3, the quotient is 3 and the remainder is 1. So we get the quotient here. Then we have percentage, which is used for modulus operation. So when we do 10 percentage 3, we get the remainder, which is 1. Then double star, this is used for exponentiation. So when you have 2 double star 3, it means 2 into 2 into 2, which is 2 into 2 is 4, 4 into 2 is 8. So we get the result. So it's basically 2 raised to the power 3. Now let's take a look at relational operators. So we have 5 equal to 5, which will result in true. Then we are checking if 5 is not equal to 3, which is true. Then we are checking 5 is greater than 3, the result is true. Then we are checking if 3 is less than 5, which results in true. Then we are checking if 5 is greater than or equal to 5, which is true. And then finally, we are testing whether 3 is less than or equal to 2, which is false. Assignment operators. So now let's take a look at the examples. So when we say x is equal to 10, basically assigning the value 10 to x. And when we say x plus equal to 5, as you can see here, the value of x is added with 5 and stored back into x. So we have the new value of 15 in x. Similarly, when we try to do x minus equal to 5, the value of x is subtracted, 5 is subtracted from that value, and the result is stored back into x. And similarly, when we try to do star equal to 3, the initial value of x is multiplied by 3 and the value is stored back in x, which is 30. Similarly, the division. So when we try to do x slash equal to 2, what happens is 10 is divided by 2. The result is 5.0, which is a decimal, is stored back in x. And in this case, we are doing a float division. So x double slash equal to 2 means 10 divided by 2. And whatever is the quotient is stored in x. So the quotient in this case is 5, so that's stored in x. Similarly, in this case, the remainder is stored in x. And then in this case, what we do is we raise 10 to the power of 2, which is 10 into 10, and the value 100 is stored in x. We saw earlier relational operators. Now we are looking at logical operators. The logical operators combine two or more relational operators together. For example, 5 greater than 2 is one relational operator. 3 less than 4 is another relational operator. And then we combine these two operators and using an AND operator. So what happens here is 5 greater than 2 is checked, which is true. 3 less than 4 is checked, which is true. Now true and true is checked. So both of them are true, the result is true. Similarly, whenever OR is used, any one of the results should be true. Is 5 less than 2? False. Is 3 less than 4? True. So false or true we have a result true because one of them is true. And finally, we have the not operator where it reverses the result. So 5 greater than 2 is true. But because we have a not operator here, it inverts the result. So the final result is now false. Identity operators. So the operators are very simple, is and is not. So when we try to compare two objects, x and y, we write the expression as x is y and the result could be true or false. In this case, it's true. And when we write x is not y, we get false. As you can see here, we have x, a list containing 0 and 5. Then we have y pointing to the same object. Then we have z pointing to a new object 0 and 5. So now when we try x is y, we get true because x and y are pointing to the same object. Then when we try x is not y, we get false. Then when we try x is z, it is false because x and z may have the same list containing the same items, but they are different objects. And you can verify that with the ID of x, y, and z. ID of x and y are same, but ID of z is different. And then we can also use type of x is list. We are trying to compare the type of x is equal to list or not, and the result is true. Membership operators. So the operators are in and not in. So it checks, in operator checks the value is present. For example, is small a in cat, the result is true. And then it not in use is used to check whether a value is not present. So is x not in apple? Yes. So the result is true. Similarly, look at this example. X is a list of 0 and 5. So when we try to check 1 in X, we get false. Similarly, there is another list called fruits where we have apple and banana. And when we try to check whether the orange is in fruits, we get false. Expressions. So using the operators that we have seen so far, we can construct expressions. So expression is nothing but a combination of constants like 5, 10, or cat, and then using variables and operators together. Usually, an expression will result in a value. Precedence of operators. And now we're going to look at specifically arithmetic expressions, that is in mathematical expressions. So the precedence level starts from the highest to the lowest. So whenever you have a parenthesis, any operations written within that will take the highest priority, followed by exponentiation, then unary. Unary is nothing but whenever you have a negative number, we will have a minus 5. We will have a minus symbol in front of 5. And then we have the multiply, divide, floor, divide, modulus. Then we have addition and subtraction. Then the comparison operators, and finally the assignment operators. So this is the precedence. We'll take a look at all these using examples shortly. Precedence of operators. Let's take a look at the first example. 2 plus 3 star 4. Is it going to be executed left to right? No. Now let's take a look at how we got the result as 14. The interpreter would first calculate 3 star 4 because star has a higher priority. So 3 star 4 is 12. And then it does 2 plus 12, which is 14. So this statement is same as this statement. So here what we see is explicitly a parenthesis provided. So now let's take another example. We have 15.0/4 plus 8 plus 3.0. So in this example, since there is an explicit parenthesis, what happens is this part of the expression is calculated first. So 8 plus 3.0 will give you 11.0. Note there is a change in the data type. 8 is integer and 3.0 is a float. The result is a float. Now 15.0 divided by 4 is calculated next because slash takes a higher precedence. So the answer is 3.75. Now 3.75 and 11 is added together to get 14.75. Now let's take a look at another example. 2 minus 3 plus 4. So in this case, it is minus and plus has the same level of precedence. So it is executed left to right. So first it calculates 2 minus 3, which is minus 1. And then from minus 1, 4 is added. So we get 3. So the minus 1, the minus here is called the unary because it's front of an integer. A unit of code that the Python interpreter can execute is called a statement. So now let's take a look at an example where we are just trying to see a number is odd or not. It's a simple statement. So 5 modulo 2, we're checking whether it is equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, then we set whether it is a odd number or not. So in this case, 5 modulo 2 is equal to 1. 1 equal to 1 is true. And in the second case, it is false.